Hi, and welcome to today's event where we have the pleasure to present Omnicar. To help us through the presentation, strongly presented by the company, CEO Mikkel Christensen and Chairman of the Board, Claus Hansen. Yeah, but the event today, I don't even know where I should start. Should we start with you are planning to go to the US to go to the stock market, a quarter with 383% growth. I know, helped by Omnicar sales starting, but still very, very impressive growth in Omnicar. Or that you actually was able to pick up capital in those difficult markets. So I'm sure you will get into that. But always ask questions down in the box down below, both in English, Danish, Swedish. I will try and translate it to the best of my ability, but the event will be on English. But for now, Mikkel, I will hand the call over to you.
Good. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for the warm welcome, and thanks for being here today. We have been looking forward to tell you about what we've been up to during Q2. We will present some of the highlights for the quarter, and then we have prepared some answers to questions which we believe will be out in the market. So hopefully we can create some transparency with this call. In case we have new listeners on Omnicar, I will just briefly explain who we are and what we are up to. So basically, Omnicar is on a mission where we want to create the most convenient car partner for life for all customers starting in Denmark. This is our mission, and we are doing it by following two products or business lines. One is our service business, where we quite simple is going out and do mobile service to customers where and when they need it. So we started this service concept less than 2 years ago, and by end of Q2 we have managed to service more than 8,500 vehicles in Denmark alone. We have also managed to create a national-wide coverage, so we are represented in most of the Danish cities in Denmark. And finally, what excites me the most is that we have managed to get a customer rating as the best in the whole industry, based on more than 2,000 customer ratings. And this basically means that we currently have a customer rating out of 5 on 4.9. Quite cool, and as always, we should go look at the trust and see what our customers are saying. It's quite interesting. During May, we launched our newest business area, Omnicar Sales, where we are selling used green vehicles by our online platform. We launched this in May, and during the first 2 months of operation, we have managed to sell 32 vehicles. This is without a big inventory, and this is with us coming in as a completely new player to the market, where we need to prove ourselves as a company, but more we need to prove that we can sell vehicles online, something which is not normal in Denmark, and as we are still the only company selling used green cars online. How it works is that we are buying the vehicles from our network. We are preparing it at our service division. We're putting it at our portal, and then we're bundling it together with our charging infrastructure, our finance and insurance options, all of it focus on vehicles. Then we're delivering it to the customers and give them 14 days free return rate. All of all, it creates a perfect ecosystem for service and sales business as a combined. So if we look at the pure performance of Q2, we have managed to create a revenue of 21 million Swedish kronor. We had during Q1 a a revenue of approximately 6 million. So totally we are ending first half with 27 million Swedish kronor in revenue. Our bottom line ended Q2 with approximately 11 million Swedish kronor, and year to date we are looking at approximately 19 million Swedish kronor. As Mikael also mentioned in the presentation, we are presenting a huge growth rate, 260% since Q1 this year, and year over year, approximately 380%. Of course, the total revenue is heavily driven by the sales, which started 1st of May. But when we look at our service business, we are seeing a stable growth of approximately 25% from quarter to quarter. So this is a business we have been out in the market with for approximately 2 years. We have year over year growth the business by 125% and is currently looking into seeing a growth on 25% quarter over quarter. Now, Claus, if you could give us a bit of the facts for Q2, thanks.
Yeah, I'll do that. And the reason for this is, firstly, I will give you some facts, and then afterwards I'll try to address some of the questions I know that most of your shareholders have on your agenda. Now, looking at Omnicar, as Mikael said, we managed to sell 32 cars during the 2 first months. And please have in mind, we did that without any kind of advertising. And also, I think another fact which we are happy with is that we managed to have 9,000 Swedish krona in average margin per sold car. This is among the highest margin compared to other leading online car retailers. If you look, for example, at Cazoo or Carvana, their margin are far below what we are seeing in our business. On top of the margin, we have the income from our service business, our finance commission that we're getting when we finance car, and more other revenue streams are a part of our can be added to this number. Another important thing is that our KPIs are continuously improving. For example, on our service business, we have a profit margin on our spare parts that have gone up with 15% compared to the first quarter, which we are very happy with, but we have other areas we can improve as well, and we are working every day on improving our margins, and we are seeing the results ongoing. End of June, we had 10 service vans, meaning 10 service vans doesn't mean that we have 10 service vans in operation every day. It means that we have 10 vans available, and sometimes mechanics are sick, and sometimes they are on education, and sometimes they are on maternity leave. But we had 10 service vans end of June. June was the best month ever in Omnicar service history. We had an aggregated revenue of 1.8 million Swedish kronor. Another thing which I think is great to know as an investor is that our revenue versus lost, and I know a lot of you are concerned about our lost, is actually the best in the industry. We are still seeing an extremely high demand for e-cars. This is really taking speed here in Scandinavia, and we don't see that stop despite the fact that we are facing recession and all these alarm clocks that are ringing every day. So in total, I think all these facts are to a great benefit for our business. Now going to some of the questions I know that you have on your mind. How much will you lose in the third and fourth quarter? How long will your cash last? When are you in profit? And will you reach your previous communicated targets? So allow me to go through each of them very carefully. Now, for the first one, how much will you lose in the third quarter and the fourth quarter? We anticipate that the loss for the third quarter will be at the same level as the second quarter. in the fourth quarter, in the last quarter of this year, we will see significant improvement. Building a business that we are building right now with 20 service vans in a year, very high number of car sales, building that whole infrastructure, IT management and all that, that is something we need to invest in. And if we don't invest, we will not be able to harvest during 2023. So we see this as a necessity, and we see that it is important that we continue investing so we'll be able to reach profitability. How long will your cash last? What is important to understand is that we have just completed this directed issue, and in addition to the issue, we also have the option for a loan facility at 10 million Swedish kroner. So in principle, we actually have cash enough to reach profitability. But the thing is that we have a limited credit line for our warehouse financing. The market condition right now is difficult. It's not so that a lot of companies or banks are standing up in line to borrow us money. So what we have done from the first day of operation is that we have been using working capital to finance our warehouse. On the plus side of that, it means that we save a lot of cost on interest. However, it is important, of course, to have some kind of warehouse credit line so we can build up our warehouse and build up our sales. We expect to be able to get a credit line this year, but of course there is some uncertainty. But we are working intensely to firstly avoid having such a big warehouse, and we do that by using other alternatives, and we have been quite successful with that here in August, and we will also be successful with that in September. But of course, it is something that you as an investor should keep in mind. When are you in profit? We will be in profit during next year, and the first month of profitability will be reached in August 2023. So we are all looking forward to that day. And of course, our loss will be declining until we reach the 1st of August. So our cash needs will of course be less compared to what you have been seeing during the second quarter. Will you reach your previously communicated target? A lot of factors will influence this, but most importantly, we see the demand is strong enough, and we also feel confident about sourcing. We currently have great traction. We have had a fairly good July compared to the fact that Denmark is basically going on pause during July. Everybody's taking their vacation, but despite that, we have actually seen an impressive sales. Also, August was great, and we have even greater expectations for September. So we will, after September, be able to confirm our annual target for the year of 2022 after the third quarter. Now, let me just touch on the US listing. As we have communicated, we have worked intensively trying to attract investors from US. The investor community and the market in US is far bigger than we have here in Scandinavia. And for me personally, it has been a great milestone that we have been able to attract those investors in US. It opens up the doors to a complete new market for us. And here in September, we have been invited to speak at a few conferences in the US with a lot of very interesting attendees. And we will later release a press release about that as well. So in order to broaden our investors, we think it's a great value for all of us that we now can attract investors from US. It is almost impossible for a US-based investors to buy shares on Spotlight. So that is also one of the reasons why we could see that it would be quite beneficial to take the US listing into consideration. And now we are in that process, and we expect the first trading days to happen within 6 to 9 weeks from today. So that concludes my presentation.
Perfect.
I don't know, Michael, if you have any questions that I did not answer. If so, please elaborate.
I think we will go down to him, or maybe I will hang you. I think you're kind of very good. There's a question here: why you want to be on the stock listing in the US? You explain bigger base, better possibilities, foreign investors. But as an analyst, I'm a little bit impressed that it's possible for you, because I'm looking at Carvana, the story over there. Investors normally, want to benchmark you up against what is, the companies over there. So what do you bring to the table right now, where this your business model is, at least in the Omnicar sales, is actually being not that much fund about that by investors. So is there something else you brought to the table so it's possible for you to attract those investors?
Yeah, I think what has been so attractive for those we have been speaking to is that we basically, as Mikkel said, are the convenient car part of life. We complete the ecosystems. We supply services, we supply maintenance, we supply repairs, and we provide sale. So we can basically offer our customers every needs they have in order to maintain their own car business. Whenever it comes to purchasing, selling, servicing, repairing, maintenance, or whatever, we can fulfill it all. Financing, charging infrastructure, we basically provide it all. And no other online retailers can do that as it is today. And that is something that they have been attracted to.
Perfect. And there's a question. I can see you have about 26 million in receivable from group companies in the parent company. I'm guessing this is the equity investment from Merconom. When will this be converted to cash?
I think it's a little bit technicality, but that has been converted already.
It has been converted.
Yeah.
So it's just being there in the group company instead of
Yeah.
So it has been converted into.
All cash goes into the mother company, Omnicar Holding, and then they lend out the money to the subsidiaries. And then at the year end, they give a cash contribution, and the loan is basically eliminated.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just accounting wise, more focus on your subsidiary.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have answered how far the new capital injection will bring you. So, what is the average turnover time when you buy a car and to when you sell it? How long are you carrying the car as an inventory on average? To get a little bit feel of that. I think you already mentioned that you haven't had that long on in the warehouse.
It's a very good question, and of course, in the situation we have been standing in right now, where we have a limited capital to inventory, we have been working on this time to be as slow as possible. What we have seen is that vehicles on the market is lying between 1 to 3 weeks as an average.
Perfect. And then the next question, will everybody is asked these questions, will it be tougher if Europe go into a recession, selling cars, some thoughts about scaling up that business and down and having how much you can put on a warehouse if the consumer suddenly drops off? I know right now that everybody can't get the car they want, but what if that changes? Some thoughts about scaling up and down the business.
Yeah, I think what is extremely interesting is that due to the shortage of cars, the industry estimate that the lifetime of a car goes from something like 6 to 7 years up to 10 years. So due to the shortage and due to the car has to last longer, then it means that the car needs more service and more repairs. So, and regardless of any kind of recession or any kind of shortage in the market, they need to have their car repaired. So that is not a concern we have at all. In regards to the selling of the used electrical cars, a lot of people are basically migrating from the conventional cars to the e-cars to save money. If we see a hard recession coming into place, I think a lot of other people, they actually will fast track that migration to save more money, basically. So I think we are in a situation where we are not so sensitive to recession and other geo factors that can come into place.
Perfect. Then there's an question. How are you able to have better margins than Cazoo Carvana? And is this sustainable when you go to a much bigger scale?
Yes. I think one of the reasons is we have a very lean organization. If you look at our organization, if you look at our sales department, and if you look at our back office with our foreman, we have an extremely low number compared to the industry. If you look at some of the online retailers in Sweden, the number of people we are in our sales business is something with, it's like a ratio of 5 to 100. I mean, it's crazy. So firstly, we are able to have a better profit because we have less people, and then we have a less warehouse. So in that sense, we don't lose money on the cars we can't sell because we mostly buy in cars we know we can sell. And then we don't have a big department that are selling to export market. And when you sell to the export market, you will also get a lower margin. I don't know if you have any other input, Mikkel, here.
Yeah, I mean, for the specific cars, it's also a matter of that we can offer the ecosystem, because we do not go out and use externals to do the service of preparing the cars and do external for doing a warranty claim. That is done internally in our ecosystem, and that is a huge benefit compared to the other companies.
So if you look out at the competitors mentioned, they don't have all that upselling service and your preparation where you can actually use your own mechanics. That's where you do part, and might be a reason for you to have higher margins in the future. Is that how I should understand it?
I mean, one thing for us is the margin we are earning on the car specific, but our setup is not only to sell the car. Our setup is to have 5 revenue streams around it, and there is where we also have a big share of our margin.
Perfect.
And I'll just add in, I think, we come from the service business and migrating into the sales business. And I think that creates a huge advantage, because a lot of the resources you need in a sales business is the resources you have in your service business. I think a lot of the online retailers, at some point in time, they will also look at the service business. But I think that will be a bigger challenge for them going that way compared to what we have. Because there's also shortage on mechanics. We have been able to attract mechanics without any issues. I mean, they've been difficult, but we've actually managed to attract the mechanics. So there's a lot of factors that will be easier for us compared to coming from the other way around.
And then there's a little bit on the supply situation. Is there enough cars out there to deliver on your 2022 growth target? And a part of that you have answered that you will get us wiser at Q3 on those. But are you seeing enough out there? Are you still such a small player that even in a tight market also for used cars, that you are able to source those cars?
Yeah, this is our how we see it right now, that we can source the vehicles we are currently need. Of course, we see and we follow closely the development on prices, which is moving from our sources, but also towards the market. So there's a bit of a change in the price, but we can source. Yeah.
Perfect. And then there's a question. You mentioned 10 vans. You didn't have the card with those so much. Everything else, you haven't went into to Scandinavia with your service vans, right? And if you have, then you have already answered the question. And then there's a question here: when do you expect to move into maybe other countries?
Yeah, this is something we're looking very closely into right now. Yeah.
Perfect. But it's still Denmark, the 10-car range you have out driving?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And I just have just to reiterate that the 10 cars was end of June.
End of June, perfect.
Yeah.
What do you consider your most close reference, peer, and or competitor company? In short, whom do you compare yourself with?
Yeah. Basically, it's the traditional workshops and sales locations. So all the fancy glass houses lying in the cities, those are our competitors.
So if I sitting from the outside, part Caverna, part wrench, is that some kind of how we should see you, or do you really see when you merge those two companies, it creates something totally different?
No, of course. If we had Caverna in Denmark, those could be a competitor on the car sales side. But in total, we don't have those players in Denmark, and we don't have someone offering the whole package as we do. We have the separated, but then it's the traditional, which have been the same business models.
But also, I mean, Michael, I mean, if you look at the competitive situation and map the different kind of competitors, I mean, our biggest unique selling point is the convenience we bring into the car ownership. So if you take a look at that convenience point, we don't have any competitors for now that brings in the same convenience value to the car service process. But of course, having said that, the competitive situation is that we compete with any other workshop in Denmark. Of course, we do that.
And as I said, a question here. I know you said you will confirm the targets after Q3 22, but in H1 you done about 27 million in revenue. Your full year target 200 to 250 million. The old target, is that really doable? That means at least, calculating wise, 170 million in second half of the year. There's a question here that seems extremely high, and I know you will get back to us, but maybe you can talk a little bit also on the what will be able to make you your targets, and what is the uncertainty?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a different kind of question to address very shortly, and I would rather postpone that answer to the end of the third quarter, so we can come out with a precise and accurate answer to that. So in that sense, our service business is flying, our sales business is flying. We are seeing growth month by month. We see the car sourcing issue is going really, really good. So everything is going in our direction right now. But I will not be able, and we will not come out with any guidance, further guidance that we have been given so far. But we will reiterate that in the beginning of the fourth quarter or end of Q3.
Then there's a direct question. What is the yearly cost of the US listing? Do you have any idea over which fees you need to pay?
Yeah, around $15,000 to $20,000.
Then there's a question here. What is the average selling price in Omnicar sales? You have mentioned you have 32 cars, so be careful here if you don't want to give numbers you don't want to give.
It's too early to tell. Of course, we have the number, but it should not be used as any guidance going forward. Yeah.
And then what was the revenue for Omnicar service in Q2 22? I don't know whether you want to specify those out anymore. You've given the growth number.
I think, what one of the, again, if you look at our competitive situation, what is important is that we basically want to be considered as one business unit. Omnicar is a company that are providing car service and car sale. So we want to migrate those two businesses. And as you see now, where we are selling cars, every time we sell a car, that customer needs winter tires, and in the summer he needs summer tires, and that customer needs service, and that will be delivered by Omnicar service. All the customers we have at Omnicar service, at some point in time, they need an electrical vehicle. We will be the one providing that electrical vehicle. So we will be the one who are basically completing this whole ecosystem. So we are one business. And I think, it's going to be more and more difficult split up those two businesses because they are already now adding so much value into each other, and so we are merging those two together. So it's going to be more and more difficult to segregate that.
Perfectly fine. Then there's a problem. Are you facing any sourcing cars from Germany? I think you answered that. And are you storing data from the Omnicar sale, any intelligence to see which cars are most popular and compare that to with what is on the market and expected sales times and such stuff?
Yeah, good question. What we have done so far is that we have been present on Facebook and Instagram and social in order to get leads. And in these leads, we are asking customers which car they are in the market for, and we're actually getting quite many feedback. And of course, that intelligence is used on how we should be building up our inventory.
And is there other sources? Because I know Omnicar sales, if you're successful, you will get a lot of wordful data. But right now, are there other data that can tell you where price is moving, what are moving from cars, what should I buy? Do we have other external sources, pulling in data, or is it the feedback you are getting from market that you're still relying on?
Yeah, it's both the input from the market, but we are of course also following closely the industry, because we're selling newer used cars, and there also the demand on new vehicles is very important. So of course we are following what is the waiting time for new cars, etc.
Perfect. And then a final question: how many vans are in the pipeline? For there's no time frame here, but maybe in the coming until 2022 ends, how many are you planning to try and get out on the road?
Yeah, so we have been communicating that we will have 20 cars by year end, and this is still the plan.
Perfect. I think that was the last question. Thank you to you, Claus. Thank you to Mikkel for taking us through all the questions here and the presentation. A lot of exciting news, and thanks to all the listeners in for good questions. May everybody have a nice day.
You're welcome. All right.
Thank you. Bye.